Good afternoon. I figured it's time to start getting festive, especially because I am putting together my newest campaign, which is my 12 Days of Delights. You're going to see that coming up in the next few days. So it's got me feeling a little bit Christmassy, even though I haven't got my Christmas tree up or I haven't really got anything else going on Christmassy yet. So today we are going to be talking about how to really recognize if your website, if you've outgrown your website, if you feel as though it's a little bit lackluster or you feel it's no longer a true reflection of yourself, it's worth just taking a look at it. And some of the reasons or some of the signs that you may like be seeing that make you feel as though you've outgrown your website are, it might be that you're not driving traffic to it anymore. There's like a subconscious, there's a decision that you're making at a subconscious level of, it's no longer a true reflection of myself. It's not showing up to date offers. It's not really a reflection of what it is that I do anymore. And so you're not actively driving traffic to your website. That's a really good indicator that you need to take some action on your site. Or it might be as though the messaging feels off. So if you feel as though your messaging has shifted, maybe you're speaking to a new audience and your website isn't reflecting that at the moment, that could be another reason why you've outgrown it. Or it feels as though you've just kind of put sticky plasters all over it. The landing page looks really different from how the home page feels, and there's no consistency of look and feel because your brand has evolved, your messaging has evolved, the imagery that you're using may have evolved. And so all of it feels as though it's a little bit, you've added a bit here and there, and it no longer feels like this really beautiful, cohesive experience for people to come to the website and have a look at. And so it's really important when you start seeing this, or when you start to feel that itch or that discomfort with sending people to your site, that you start thinking about what are the steps that you could take to actually address that. And sometimes it doesn't mean that you need to do a full revamp. It could just be that you need to tweak the messaging if it's the messaging that doesn't feel right. Or if it feels as though you've got those sticky plaster, you've taken that sticky plaster approach and there's just bits in places that just don't feel right and they don't feel as though they're all sitting and gelling well together, then it might be a question of sitting down thinking, okay, why is it that I'm not loving that? And what could I do to make it feel better? And it could be a question of booking a session with somebody. So you might want to book a power hour with me, for example, and we can go through that and we can actually talk through why it's not feeling right. And often if you have, if you've added new offers over time, then where you add them onto the page, they feel a little bit plonked on, but also the navigation may not be clear anymore. And that you want to make sure that the navigation is always giving people a really, really clear user experience. Other things that might be impacted, if you feel as though your website has just kind of grown and grown and grown and it hasn't really had a full strategy behind it, is the mobile experience may be a little bit off. Or it might be that the design is not feeling great. It might feel a little bit dated now. Or you have slow page load times because maybe when you first started building the site, you didn't realize that you needed to be optimizing the images and that kind of thing. Or if you're just noticing that you have really low conversion rates. So anytime in our business when we notice that things aren't working as they should, it's really time to take stock, take a step back. And I know that everybody's busy. These are the kind of things that drop to the bottom of the pile, but we want to make a conscious decision to go in and see, why are my conversion rates low on my website? Is it because people are having a poor user experience? Is it because my offers are just not speaking to people? And so you really want to just check that out. It might be that you're not driving enough traffic to your website yet. So in which case you need to look at the analytics, because you can't make any decisions based on data that you don't yet have. So if you're only driving, if there's only 10 people a month seeing your website, that's not enough people for you to make decisions to whether it's working or not. If you put it in front of 1,000 people, you may have amazing conversion rates because your messaging might be absolutely bang on. So you need to check, what is it that is falling over? What is it that's not working? And if it's a traffic generation issue, then is it because you don't have good enough SEO? We had a gorgeous Brit come into my membership yesterday and talk to us about some really, really good actionable steps that we can take to get our websites being seen and become more visible with Google. But it's not only SEO. SEO can often be a slow burn. So you want to look at, what is it that you are doing to drive people to your website? So you want to make sure that you're constantly building up your audience. And so once you've looked at all that, if you kind of identified that it's signs of outgrowth, so to speak, then what are the things that you can be starting to do? So the thing that you can look at doing is start setting clear goals. So really define your target audience and get very, very specific on it. I know we all bang on about target audience, but it's really important that you understand what it is that you can do for people and who is going to benefit the most from working with you. And then have a look at setting some measurable objectives and think, okay, I want to make sure that I have 50 new signups this month, or I want to make sure that I have 100 people reading the blog post that I have toiled over this month. So set yourself some actual goals and then keep checking back on them. And if you're not hitting them, have a look at why that might be, or do you just need a final push in that final week of every month to just make sure that you do hit those goals and then start building on them. You can start analyzing user experience and user behavior by seeing what pages on the site people are actually visiting and where they're dropping off, because that will give you some indicators as to where the experience might not be great. It might be that that page doesn't render well on mobile, and if people are viewing it from a mobile phone, they just can't look at it, they can't view it, so they just disappear off somewhere else. And so have a look at any underlying technical issues. You know, you might have a whole load of plugins that need deleting, or you might have something that's slowing the page down, the whole website experience down. So start having a look at those. If you are thinking of doing a full revamp, and I'm not suggesting that you might need to, because there's a lot of things that you might be able to fix that don't require like throwing the whole lot out. So if you are wanting to actually start again from scratch, you think, okay, I'm done. This website is 5 years old now. It's kind of seen me through, but now it's time for a full shake-up. If you're doing that, you really, really want to make sure that you are planning it out and map out what it is that you want people to be achieving on your website. What does that journey look like? What are you going to signpost them to next? How are you going to swirl people closer into your online ecosystem so that you're taking them literally from purchase to purchase and giving them an opportunity to actually buy things? So you could definitely be looking at the kind of content that you're putting on your website. That's not just your messaging, but things like, are you blogging? Are you putting fresh content onto your site? And when Britt was talking to us yesterday about SEO, she mentioned something that was interesting, because I don't think some of us think of it in this way, but she said Google sees fresh content as anything. It doesn't necessarily just need to be blog posts. It can just be the pages that you're putting out there. So you can be putting new content onto existing pages on your website and it still sees it as fresh content. So make sure that you're just going in and paying some attention to the pages and the content that you already have and just giving your website a little bit of love. And then really consider doing some testing and some optimization. So you don't need to get really sophisticated with this. People will talk about split testing and A/B testing. You can do that if you want to get really granular with it, but do make sure that you're using an analytics tool so you can see where the traffic is coming from, what pages they're visiting, and what people are actually looking for on your site, the pages that they're hanging around on, what is it that they're spending time doing? And then it means that you can make more data-driven decisions. And I know most of us don't love data, but actually it can really, really inform the things that we're wanting to do, and it can help us make some really informed decisions. Also, of course, make sure that you're regularly maintaining your plugins and your themes. That's really important. And just go back and do some content refreshes. I've got some blog posts. I sent someone to a blog post the other day, and the images weren't loading correctly. So I needed to go back and have a look at why that was happening. And so just little things. You need to just be keeping an eye on your website, make sure that it's all ticking over. And just make any necessary adjustments where you need to. And so things like the promo that I'm running. So some of you will know 12 Days of Divi. I've run that for the last 2 years. This year I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm doing 12 Days of Delight, which honestly I'm super excited about. It's the most excited I've been about running something in my business for a while, because I'm excited about these little drops that you're going to get every single day. But what that means is that I'm creating fresh content for my website. And it also means, because I'm gamifying, I'm basically going to hide elves around my site. and people can go and look for them. And when they click on them, it's going to give them a clue as to what they can grab that day. And it might be a freebie, it might be an opportunity for a one-to-one with me, it might be a discount on something. So those kind of things are really good for improving dwell time on a website, because people are actually looking for something and they're spending a bit of time on something, and it sends signals to Google that it's worth sending traffic to the website because people are hanging around on there. So do keep in mind, what is it that I can be doing? Because often when we build a website, that's it. We just think, okay, that was hard. And now it's done, and I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the benefits from it. But we need to keep on making sure it's like maintaining anything that you use a lot. So your car needs regular maintenance. I've just picked up my son's bike from the bike shop because that needed servicing. It's like anything that we use, we need to make sure that we're looking after it. Thanks for the love around the hat. Thanks, Jackie and Dot. Yeah, Jackie, honestly, it's going to be a lot of fun. So in fact, I'm just about to open the wait list for it. So that'll go out this afternoon. And if any of you guys are wanting a little bit of elf adventure in your life over the coming weeks, then yeah, dive into the 12 Days of Delights. But I hope that that's been useful. Really, the main message is, please just give your website some love, have a look at it. And if it's feeling a little bit off, if you're feeling like you've outgrown it in any way, it's probably worth just spending an afternoon going through it and seeing what it is that you can do. Now, you guys, Jackie and Dot, I know that you're working on your new site, and you're absolutely confident with building out new pages and all the rest of it. If anybody else is watching, or if you're watching on the replay and that's something that isn't your forte, then just reach out to me. I might have some resources that can help you, or hop onto a power hour session with me and we can go through it and have a look at what you would benefit most from changing. And by the way, when I'm talking about changing a website, I'm not talking about things like changing up the colors, those kind of things, because those are the kind of things that lots of us get bored with really fast. So I have so many people come to me and say, do you know what, I think it might be worth me changing the colors on my website. And honestly, I feel that every month. I feel like, I just love to freshen things up and just do a whole new color scheme throughout, which would be amazing, right? But it might take me 3 days to do. And is it going to bring me any new sales, any new clients? Probably not. So you've got to think about, where is your time best spent? Because there's so many other things that you could be doing that's probably going to bring you more benefit than playing around with the colors on your website. So when I'm talking about outgrowing your site, please don't think that I'm suggesting that you go and tinker with it. What I'm really wanting you to focus on is the user experience, the messaging, and making sure that it's just not looking outdated. Jackie says, how often should we update or revamp our websites? So I'm working with a client at the moment. Her website is 4 years old and she's ready for a full overhaul, but that's because her business has changed significantly. So when you are working on your website, as I know you will, Jackie, because you're going to be keeping it up to date because you've been through Rock That Website and you understand how to build out new pages and how to keep your pages fresh. You probably won't need to look at a full revamp for about 5 years, I would suggest. Some people suggest that you should be revamping your website every couple of years. Now, I think that's probably web designers who are making that suggestion because that kind of keeps them in business. And it might be necessary after 2 years if you've built out a website and your business has shifted radically, in which case you might end up having to make that change. But honestly, if your website is still working for you, even if it's working for you 8 years after you built it and nothing significant has changed, then you don't need to just ditch it for the sake of an overhaul. You really don't need to. If things aren't broken, don't try and fix them. But generally, you want to be making sure that if your website has been live for a long time, you're going back and checking on things. And also, a full revamp, if it's not done correctly, can actually damage things like your search engine reputation, because if you're not redirecting traffic that has already, or redirecting pages that have already been indexed in the search engines, it means that Google or other search engines are sending traffic to a broken link. And that can be really, really damaging. So if you are going to do a full revamp, you want to make sure that you take advice first if you're DIYing it. If you're working with a web designer, you want to make sure that it's something that they're really aware of, that you want to maintain your search engine rankings. And if you're changing the structure of your site, they need to be really, really well versed in how to do that in terms of, it's something called 301 redirects. So a website revamp might be an amazing option for you, but you want to make sure that it's implemented correctly. Yeah, yeah, Jackie, you don't want to be building another one in January 2025, do you? So, all right, cool. Lovely to see you guys here. I'll be back next week with Website Wednesday, and I think that might be the last one of this year. So next week is going to be the 18th. I won't be doing one on Christmas Day, which is the 25th. I cannot believe 2 weeks today and it's Christmas. And I also will not be doing one on the 1st of January. So we've got a little break over the Christmas period. I'll be diving back into Website Wednesdays probably on the 8th of January. I'll have to have a look. We've got friends coming over from Australia, so I'll check in with their schedule and see what they're up to. But I will be here next week for the final one of 2024. All right, take care. Thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.